And good evening. For Ridgecrest Talk, your host Paul Vander with some guests tonight from the great community of Tehachapi. My first guest, the Parks and Rec Director, Matt Young. Matt, why don't you tell us a little bit about your organization, what you do there?
Well, thank you, Paul, for having me on the show. My name is Matt Young. I'm the District Manager of Tehachapi Valley Recreation Park District. We are a special district in the state of California, and our mission is to provide recreation and park services to the greater Tehachapi area.
And how many people do you have that you serve?
The greater Tehachapi area serves about 30,000 people. The city of Tehachapi is right around 9,000 to 12,000, depending on what you're looking at. So.
Right. Now, Tehachapi, for those of you who don't do anything but drive through, is to the south on the way to Bakersfield. I remember one of the stories that we all tell in Ridgecrest is that we always bring our wives into town at night, because if they see the desert in the day, it's too much of a shock. And my wife was driving through Mojave on 58 West, which is going to go right to Tehachapi, and she missed the turn to 14 North. And she called me and said, you know, I'm not sure if I'm going the right direction, because you said I was supposed to be going north and I'm going west. And I said, well, you got to turn around and get back here, because if she got to Tehachapi in the morning and then I brought her down to Ridgecrest, I might be in trouble. And so luckily I did get here in time. But that's just something I've noticed, is Tehachapi is a place that people in Ridgecrest love to go to, and it's just a great destination location. Interestingly enough, you're in Parks and Recreation as a district, not with the city. And the city of Ridgecrest and the communities here in Indian Wells Valley have talked about some of the challenges with having funds for our Parks and Rec. And let's just talk about that for a minute. What do you see as the benefits of having your job and your group as a district rather than working for the city?
Well, I think there's several different models to follow, Paul, when you look at the delivery of park and recreation services to a community. And it just depends on how that community is designed. Most of the time in an established community, such as Ridgecrest, it's plausible to have a Department of Recreation and Park underneath the city. Most of the time when you see special districts, it's because at the time the city wasn't organized enough or didn't have the resources. So a special district, much like a school district, was created to serve a very specific need to the community. But times have changed, and it just depends on the dynamics of your city or your municipality. So, but the point being is that every community needs parks and recreation. It's kind of the cornerstone of how you retain people in your community. That, along with your school districts, is why people come to communities. When you have a strong school district that's educating children, and you have a strong recreation and park component that is keeping the community at a direct service level, such as events and runs and athletics, that's what retains a community, along with your businesses. So your strongest communities and your role model communities tend to always have not only a strong park district or municipal park and rec department, but they also have a strong school district, strong local government, and a strong economy. So, and that's nationwide. So.
Right. Now, we know that you're a district, but is that fairly recent, or how long ago? When did you start becoming a recreation district?
Okay. Well, the Tehachapi Valley Recreation Park District was created in 1959, and it was driven by the need for recreation in the greater Tehachapi area. At the time, the city of Tehachapi was very small, and the greater Tehachapi encompassed little communities over a great area, and that is how the park district was founded. There were several needs. The school district had a pool. They didn't want to run that pool anymore, and so the citizens of Tehachapi decided they wanted to create a special district to provide better recreational resources based on that first facility being Dynatatorium, which is our pool.
Right. Now, for those of you who probably not seen that pool unless you're with one of the swim teams, Dynatatorium is an indoor pool, and it's very old. It's older than 1959, right?
That's correct, Paul. It's actually older than 66.7% of our population.
Wow.
So it's a very old resource in our community, but it's also a very important resource. As you can imagine, being a mountain town, far from any source of water, it's quite well used during our summers.
Now, at being an indoor pool, there's an issue that we've had in Ridgecrest with an indoor pool, because the base has always had one. The city was looking at the need, and then In Shape Fitness just opened an indoor pool not too long ago. Has that pool always been indoors?
Yes, it's always been indoors. It's a little controversial because it is, even though it's covered, it's not a true indoor pool. It was once used as a community center. In fact, the pool was drained during the fall, winter, and spring of every year, and there was a floor put in, a stilted floor put in over the pool, and that was our community center. Our dances, our basketball, the high school used it for events. So that's since changed. We have another community center that we use. However, it is, even though it's indoor, it's not a true indoor pool. But to answer your question, a community always wants to be careful not to duplicate services. I think it's wonderful that you have a local private business with an indoor pool because that's helping your economy. It's serving a need of the community at one point. Of course, you always need a large pool during your summer for lots of activities. But again, you want to be careful never to duplicate services. Again, we're in the business of running a very tight government organization. We don't want to have too much government, but we want to have enough to provide quality services to our constituency.
Right. Now, as a recreation district, you kind of have a taxing authority where that money comes separately to you, and there's other neighborhoods and communities there in the greater Tehachapi area, going back kind of to the southwest, Cummings Valley, Stallion Springs, Bear Valley Springs. How do those areas tie in with your service area?
Well, we do have two outlying areas, the community of Bear Valley Springs and the community of Stallion Springs. And they're contiguous with our district, meaning that they're adjacent to it. They used to be at one point part of the district, but as they grew, they had their own taxing authority or a way to bring in money such as a community service district. And they decided that at that time it was better to run their own recreation departments. And a lot of times that makes sense. If the drive time to your direct service is beyond what's reasonable, then people probably shouldn't be paying into a service that's not accessible to them. We always want to talk about accessibility when we talk about public resources. So even though we do have a great district, there are some outlying areas. Now that said, it's great as a park district, being Tehachapi Valley Recreation Park District, that we can still offer services to those outlying areas, such as our movies in the park, our music in the park series, and our runs. Those tend to be very well received by outlying areas, whereas the immediate community is more or less using our athletics and our programs that are within a reasonable, accessible limit.
All right. Well, there's some similarities and some differences with Ridgecrest. We do have Inyokern as a neighboring community. We're going to go ahead and take a break. After this break, we're going to come back and talk some more parks and recreation in Tehachapi with Matt Young, your host Paul Vander with Ridgecrest Talk. That's right. And welcome back to Ridgecrest Talk. Your host, Paul Vander, talking with some folks from Tehachapi. This last segment, we had Matt Young, the Director for Parks and Recreation in the Tehachapi Valley. And this section, we're bringing in one of those hardworking people there, Leanne Williams, who's a Recreation Supervisor. Welcome, Leanne. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, Paul.
And so why don't you just tell us a little bit, what are some of the types of things that you do in your job and your area of focus?
My area of focus is really the programming and events. So anything from our music in the park, movies in the park, events that we do. We also do some other free events, our Easter egg hunt that's popular with the kids, and then other events we do in the summer where we bring in some tourism aspect to our communities, our 5K and 10K runs, which many of the people in Ridgecrest frequent our runs from their running club. And we also then have all of our adult sport programs, from adult basketball, adult softball, and then our youth sports, which is your t-ball and youth basketball. So we kind of have a big swath in terms of the net that we throw in terms of what we provide to our community.
Right. And one of the things I really enjoy when I went to Tehachapi and I said, where are the youth baseball and youth softball programs? They're at West Park, which all at one facility. You have all your baseball and softball right there. And I was able to kind of go back and forth and see what was going on at some of those. What else do you have at the West Park there?
The West Park exhibit, well, we partner with Little League. Little League uses those fields from February through August, and then we pick them up August through December in our adult softball program, and then we give them a rest for a couple of months. We can catch up with maintenance and just give that turf a rest. We also have our skate park there that is an open facility during daylight hours. And then we have West Park Activity Center that sits on at West Park as well, where all of our basketball is played. We actually use that as a community center in terms of quinceañeras and community events. Our big business showcase that the Chamber does uses that facility. So it's it's a well-used park in terms of something that's used in our community.
So you have youth softball, youth baseball, adult softball, skateboarding, the basketball facility, and your offices there also, right?
Yes, yes, our offices do sit there.
And it looked like maybe there's a maintenance building that some of your maintenance guys are working
Yep,
on.
Yeah, our maintenance shed. So we're all kind of, everyone that works for our district pretty much launches from West Park.
That's
so
kind of like the starting point.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have West Park now. When I was leaving West Park, driving due east, I guess would be, I came over to Central Park, stopped and had a little bite to eat, and that's a nice little park as well. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your Central Park facility there? And you actually have a recreational building in the back there also, right?
Yes, we have the Stephen A. Shy Activity Center sits at Central Park. Central Park's really just a jewel in our community. It's a high traffic park. People go mostly for recreation leisure. You know, it's got your playgrounds, it's got your benches. You see people put up portable volleyball nets, and they have little volleyball games. You'll see some soccer played. There's a wiffle ball tournament that goes on in the summer. One of the churches use every Wednesday. But Stephen A. Shy Activity Center is used for our TOTS program. We have a tot enrichment and a parent and me program that's there Monday through Thursday. And then in the evening hours, it's usually used by scouts. So we open that building up for different scout groups to use for their meetings and things that they need to get accomplished.
So if people from Ridgecrest were to head up to Tehachapi and were getting involved with community activities, what were the type of activities that they might be heading over to either Central Park or to the West Park? What are some of the things? Do you have any big events?
Central Park, our Mountain Festival. So it's not ours, it's the Chamber of Commerce, but we partner with them and open up our park for that event. You'll see the 4th of July Hot Dog Festival. We do our Warrior Run 5K right at the beginning of that day, and then the city of Tehachapi has it's a gigantic 4th of July festival, which is just a phenomenal day. There's a wiener dog races, there's bunches of vendors and bounce houses, so it's a great day for the family just to come up for the day and get out of the heat in July. It's a great place for people from Ridgecrest to come up during that, then get their run in. Pancake breakfast by the Warrior Booster Club. You kind of see a lot of different partners in that event. And then, of course, the Mountain Festival is a big tourist
When
destination.
is your Mountain Festival?
It's always the second Saturday of August. And we always do a 5K, 10K run that morning, and then again it goes into the parade for the Mountain Festival, and then that whole festival comes into our park.
Well, I know second weekend of August, that's the time when people in Ridgecrest are saying, it's just too hot here,
Yes.
we need to go somewhere else. So Tehachapi's close enough that if the people haven't discovered that yet, next summer they need to get up there in August. You got this nice grassy, cool, tree-shaded park right there in Tehachapi with, what's the elevation, a little over 4,000 feet?
4,100.
4,100 feet, and that sounds like a great destination. Let's go ahead and kind of change the subject a little bit. We're talking about some of your facilities and some of your activities that you have going on there in the Parks and Rec District. But Matt, let's come back and talk about how you fund that and how you manage that. What are some of the challenges that you have?
Well, I think with any public sector recreation and park agency, you always have challenges. I mean, we're tax funded, and we do as much as we can as good stewards of tax dollars to provide the best services. But we're moving into a new era of partnering with not only our local government agencies but also the private sector. And this tends to be the model we follow is that it's always equitable for both sides. So with like with Leanne's programs, you know, most of them are being funded not only partially by the park district, but now we have vendors coming in that want to be part of this, or local businesses that want to sponsor these. And that's a win-win. They're engaged with the community. They're showing their support of community events. They get a marketing and campaigning ability out of it, and it's a win-win for the community. We're enhancing our programs through public and private support of our programs.
Right.
So.
Now, something that's particularly interesting in Ridgecrest is Ridgecrest has talked about having a Parks and Rec district, although right now the city is trying to manage their own facilities with limited funds, especially with a lot of the business base being on the base from the Navy where they're not getting that revenue stream. Here we have a general plan for the Parks and Rec, as every city does, and I'm sure Tehachapi does. How does the Parks and Rec tie in with the general plan in Tehachapi?
Well, I think that anytime you have multiple agencies, all your general plans or your master plans need to tie in effectively to deliver an effective product to the community. Our master plan, which is specific to recreation and parks over the next 20 years, takes into consideration the growing demographics of Tehachapi, the business climate of Tehachapi. We also look at Kern County in general, and our surrounding community service districts. So we base the data we collect from our master plan and allocate that master plan in unison with the city's master plan.
All right, I'm going to have to go ahead and interrupt you just a second for another break. We're talking the business plan for recreation in Tehachapi. Paul Vander with Matt Young and Leanne Williams, Ridgecrest Talk. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Ridgecrest Talk. Very timely conversation about Parks and Recreation District up in Tehachapi. Your host, Paul Vander with our director in Tehachapi, Matt Young, and the supervisor in Recreation, Leanne Williams. We were kind of talking about partnerships and working with other organizations, and specifically, Matt, you had talked a little bit about City Council and working with some of those committees. Why don't you tell us, is that something that you work very closely with to make sure that you're on the same page?
Oh, absolutely, Paul. I think the key to successful agency management is partnering and being in good communication with your fellow local government agencies. And as a director myself, I attend not only City Council but all of the Community Service District board meetings. I attend a lot of the nonprofits, Little League, such as community service districts. I'm always at their board meetings. There's always good communication because those are a constituency, you know. And whether you're a park district, an individual park district like myself, or you're a department under the city, that's still really important that the communication is strong. That's a key component of a viable park system and recreation district.
Right. And what do you see when you're kind of like looking at this analysis, or the city of Ridgecrest and the communities in the Indian Wells Valley look at recreation? What do you see as the key component, or how you approach improving your recreation programs?
I think the key, again, is the partnerships. I mean, you can't say enough about community partnerships. And the stronger your partnerships are, the more you can produce to your community. For example, we recently won a national competition for a dog park through a national company. It was a voter based competition, and we came in third in the nation. So the city of Tehachapi, the park district, has been awarded $25,000 to build a new dog park, and that was done through a local animal rescue that partnered with the park district. You know, so it's the people of Tehachapi working to enhance their park facilities with the local government, i.e. a partnership.
Right. So is this one of these ones like on the internet where people can vote, and then it has that tally of who's on top, and all of a sudden Tehachapi comes out as number 3 in the entire country?
That's correct.
And you received $25,000 one-time grant.
That's
to
correct.
Support a new dog park.
To build a new dog park.
Okay, so in other words, when I go up to Tehachapi, I got to bring my dog up with me.
That's
yes.
correct.
Well, here in Ridgecrest, we actually have, I believe it's an Eagle Scout who's working a project to try to bring a dog park to Ridgecrest. We do have a kind of a hidden fenced-in area behind the senior center that has a dog sign, but I don't think anybody's aware of that, and there's just a real need. So many of us have dogs. That's just a great need. Leanne, let's go back and talk about some of your programs, and the one facility that I've driven by, but I haven't really stopped and watched any of the events, is where you have your movies in the park, music in the park. Why don't you tell us more about what you do at that park? What was the name of it?
That's Meadowbrook Park. So
Okay.
Meadowbrook Park sits right outside city limits, so it's still in our district. And it is a huge green space. It's actually, there used to be some ball play there for a few years before everything was moved back to West Park. So we do our movies in the park. So we contract a company, Funflix of Central California out of Bakersfield. We contract them, we pay for the licensing for the movies, and we basically through sponsorships, through great partnerships with Bright House Networks and Alta One Federal Credit Union. This year, we produced 5 movies this summer that were free to the public. We had concession stands. Families come out, bring their blankets and their chairs, and they just, chill out on the lawn and watch a movie that they could have just seen in the theaters this past year. So we showed Frozen, Muppets, and we've already kind of got our laid out for this 2015 in terms of we're expanding that into bigger events. We're going to have a Lego Day, a Lego building contest, along with a Lego movie. So we're going to have, 5 more fun Friday nights in Tehachapi to enjoy our beautiful evenings in the summer.
Right, and I think what a lot of people do now is you get the idea, hey, Tehachapi is a destination spot from Ridgecrest. Next thing you do is you go look on the internet, and of course I came to your website, and that's what clued me into your movie night. Was you had a picture on there from the people lounged out on the grass with this big screen, and you could just tell that that's a real nice relaxing way get the kids running around. We used to have a drive-in here in town years ago, and I remember all the kids run down to that playground in the front, and then as soon as the movie started, everyone's running trying to remember where their car is. And I guess that's about the next best thing nowadays is use that park space. Yeah. You already have some playground space and different things for the kids to run around and get all their energy out, and then they come back with the family, kind of in a picnic environment, and they're sitting watching the movie and enjoying the beautiful weather there in Tehachapi. Now, your last event is Halloween. You're having a movie night on Halloween. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yes, October 31st. It falls on a Friday this year, so we're actually doing a movie at Westpac Activity Center. So we'll bring that huge inflatable screen indoors. It's about 26 foot. They have bigger, but that's big enough for our facility. And then that'll be free to the public. And there's a trunk or treat that day in our community. So that 4 to 7 is a trunk or treat in the community of Tehachapi. And then at 7 o'clock, we open up and have, we've partnered with THS. We say that partnership word again. We've partnered with THS Drama. They're going to do a haunted house for a minimal fee to raise money for them in the front of our facility. And then we'll show the free movie at 8 o'clock and have concessions. And it's really to give that teen component. It's Beetlejuice this year. Something to do in those after hours, so they're not around the neighborhoods, doing what teenagers do, that they have a place to go. And we really want to provide that recreation component for that part of our community.
I guess by the end of October it could be getting pretty chilly up in Tehachapi.
It
so
could.
You're moving indoors for that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Why don't you tell us some of the great events you have coming up that people in Ridgecrest might want to go visit? What do you have coming up this weekend?
This coming Saturday over at the Tehachapi Airport. We partner with the city of Tehachapi and the Tehachapi Airport to put on, we put on the recreation component of it, the Tarmac 5K and Kids 1 Mile Run. We'll have a registration at 7 a.m. with the race kicking off at 8 and the kids run at 8:45. They actually shut down the runway, work with the FAA to shut that down. The kids get to run the runway. We use the whole facility for the 5K. They open that runway back up, and the warbirds, there's a bunch of warbirds coming in. They're doing a fly-in. They have a bunch of static displays, military displays, and also other aircraft. And then they'll actually doing a couple skydive demonstrations, and then you can get some, they're doing some free, pay for some rides up in airplanes as well. And then we should have a few gliders there to look at, and then Lions Club will be there selling food. And it's really just a great day to come out to Tehachapi and spend the day at the airport and run, and then spend the rest of the day there seeing the fly-in.
So all of our old-time runners at the Over the Hill Track Club are going to be up there running the 5K. Yeah. You can bring your kids up, get them tired out running, and then watch some of these older airplanes put on their demonstration this Saturday.
Yep.
All right, it looks like we're just about out of time. We've had so much stuff to cover. Being in Tehachapi, which is a great destination for Ridgecrest, being a district where the city of Ridgecrest and the community has been considering that, and then just having all these events, these ideas are just kind of popping of things that Ridgecrest can do, as well as partnering and heading up to where you are. We just really like to thank our guests, Matt Young and Leanne Williams. I'm Paul Vander with Ridgecrest Talk. Thank you for tuning in this evening.